in the past 5 years, my work has transformed in a very intense, expressionist, dark direction. And this is essentially in response to contemporary events, beginning with 9/11, and then the conceptual war on terror in terms of how the administration we have uses scare tactics to control people. But this also is a reference to how power is used in other countries too, not just our country. So my work is trying to approach on a very basic universal level what power, control, and war are about. What attracted me to the style of expressionism was the fact that it was a direct pathway to emotion, that there was no intellectual or conceptual mediation between feeling and the creation of imagery that made inward feeling outward in a very direct way. And the two greatest sources for my interest in expressionism were first from abstract expressionism, and then in the 90s from German expressionism. It absolutely floored me how amazing German expressionist art from the first quarter of the 20th century was. These artists were Emil Nolde, Ernst Ludwig Kirchner, Erich Heckel, Max Pechstein. It also included Kate Kolowitz and many others. And this art had an absolute radical impact on me. And abstract expressionism was based on my work with Stanley William Hayter in Paris in 1984. He trained me in an exercise of automatism, which had the use of spontaneous line to bring direct emotional and subconscious content into abstract imagery. And that is still, I consider, a radically fresh, new frontier in art that hasn't been discovered. In a sense, my prints really took a precedence that then my paintings followed the lead of. And sometimes artists consider prints kind of the small potatoes and the paintings the main course. But for me, the prints were the center of the focus. In the image of the weeping woman, this woodblock print, the face became a bold, simple kind of cipher. And it was expressing tragic grief. Obviously, it deals with the theme of loss and war. Okay. And the use of the hands is also significant. Not only the emotion in the face breaking through, but also the way that the hands almost become like the tears of the face. But what I do gather from the outside world makes me extremely disturbed, and I have to put this in a visual form. This is why I find this work kind of a breakthrough piece for me. One of my most intense recent works in painting is called War Cloud, and it embodies aspects about the present in terms of obviously the situation of war that we're in, but it generalizes it into a kind of a general symbol of what destruction and violence in a sort of descending fashion in the way the composition looks feels like. And if you look closely, it's similar to the composition I made in 2001 called The Edge. And The Edge I made right after 9/11. But this, as a sequel composition, is showing my feelings at the time of the invasion during the war in Iraq. Well, not during the war in Iraq, the time of the invasion of Iraq. The sense that we were really tipping the scales and losing control at that time. So what you see, essentially in an abstracted form in the center of the composition, is a giant hand descending, and just behind it a face with two red hands reaching downward. And it symbolizes for me that we were entering a situation where there would be no center. It would be a loss of control. That once you enter into the terms of war, you can't have diplomacy or dialogue. There's no way that words can intervene. It is just the sheer brute force of violence. And if it's going that direction, there is no way to stop it. It is like a thundercloud descending and destroying as it goes. And it's in reference to the war on both sides, that it was going to be in an intractable situation. And I felt the loss of control and the tragedy imminent in this image itself.